Good morning. Hi, guys. Welcome back to another episode of AKP Sports Talk. That's Ari. I'm Korea, and I come to you dreading this moment because I was not looking forward to this recap after the Dodgers and Rays yesterday. But you know what? Let's just get into this recap. Yesterday, I got killed. Why? I just said the Dodgers and the Rays. The Dodgers decided not to play baseball for the first 5 innings and then decided to play baseball from the sixth inning on. Same for the Rays. They decided to not play baseball for the first 5 innings, and then in the sixth inning, they hit a two-run homer. So that was my day yesterday. Obviously, some tough losses. The Astros, Cubs, first five over. That was so far free. Obviously, I think they scored 6 or 7. So even if you did get it at 5.5, that did end up being a
I
winner
think,
for
I
you.
think the Cubs scored 5 in the bottom of the first, so it hit in the bottom of the first.
Yeah, I was about to say, hopefully you didn't take that nerfy because the Cubs scored all 5 of their runs in the first, so I didn't even have to worry about the 4.5. But if you did take that full game over, like I said, that was not the greatest look because the game kind of stalled out from there. Obviously as that wind was coming in the stadium, obviously our system kind of hit there for that first 5. So that was our only winner. So obviously unfortunate that the Rays had to cost us just because they could not do anything. They were down 1-0 after 5, and then all of a sudden, bottom of the sixth comes and they hit a two-run homer, and I'm sitting here like, of course, they don't get in the fifth, but they get in the sixth, of course. And then the Dodgers, oh my God, the Dodgers are going to be one of the most frustrating teams to bet in the regular season because you would expect every time we talk about how stacked the Dodgers team are, you would expect for that to happen, and then all of a sudden they just choke. And James Paxton, it wasn't even like James Paxton was throwing bad. He only allowed 1 run through 5 innings, and the Dodgers, exactly, didn't do anything. And then all of a sudden, Shohei, and then I see on my timeline on Twitter, Shohei Ohtani, it's a 450-foot bomb, and I'm like, why couldn't they do that in the first inning? It was just a tough day for me, obviously. So, we're gonna bounce back, obviously. Tough day for me, Ari. I know that A's Yankees game was tough to watch, but yeah, how'd the Mavs do?
Yeah, 1-on-1 day for me. The L first was, it was bad. I think it went over in the first inning. I think A scored 1, and the Yankees scored 4 off Blackburn. So I'll take that one on the chin. That was obviously a really bad play. And then the Mavs got the win. I mentioned even if Kawhi played, I still like Dallas to even up the series, and that was what happened. Clippers had the lead most of the first half, but not nearly as big as Game 1. And then Luka and Kyrie took over in the fourth quarter. When they needed to. They got some big threes also from I think PJ Washington, Maxi Kleber. It was a good win for Dallas to even up the series. And the L was about as L as an L gets for the A's Yankees first 5 under.
I mean, as soon as I saw Rizzo hit that two-run bomb, I looked and I was like, yeah, that first 5 under 4.5 was definitely a tough read. But I mean, hey, who would have thought that the Dodgers and the Rays would not do anything against worse teams either? So it's baseball. Stuff happens. That was a tough read, obviously. But like you said, sometimes it's the right read, but just the wrong execution. Baseball happens, and obviously you talk about the Mavs and how it was a great bounce back spot. And they weren't the only team to actually even up their series after the big trend of all the home teams pretty much winning throughout like the first I think 6 straight games we had, or I think it was at least like 8 or almost 8 straight games where we had all the home teams win, obviously. But the Mavs did even up the series. Obviously, you mentioned, off of the Luka and Kyrie, duo that kind of showed up in the fourth quarter when it really mattered most, obviously. Luka turning it up, obviously. We saw him hit that big 3 over James Harden, was shouting to the crowd, obviously. How much it meant to him. So, obviously, they even up that electric series. But obviously, we got more basketball tonight. Obviously, tomorrow we have the NFL draft. We're going to be getting into our big special tomorrow. But, of course, we got some more picks for you guys today. And I got 2. We're going to keep it simple here. After a rough day yesterday, no nonsense of the parlay nonsense. We're just going to go through two quick plays here. We're going back to the scene of the crime yesterday, but this time we're back in the other team. We're back in the Nats plus 1.5, minus 112 on DraftKings right now. The only reason I'm really backing this is because this is a kind of bullpenish day for the Dodgers. They got Wayne Knack on the mound, and we had this exact matchup, I believe, about a week ago, or a little over a week ago. and both of these two pitchers shoved, and it was Jake Irvin for the Nationals, and then on the other side it was Landon Knack, obviously. And when you have that same matchup, when the same two got when this literally it's a repeat of what happened. With baseball, it's hard to expect the same thing to happen again. And I believe in that first game, I think the Dodgers did cover the 1.5. They obviously that was at home, and I do think the Nationals. First off, I do expect both teams to have the bats today. After, I mean, the Nationals kind of struggled throughout the game yesterday, but it was a bad matchup for them. They couldn't really get anything off of James Paxton. The only person who was really hitting the ball was C.J. Abrams. But today, I expect them in a better matchup today to really hit the ball well. So that's why I'm asking them to cover the plus 1.5 here at minus 112. Not covering the money line. I think the money line is a good look if you want a little bit, obviously, more juice on the plus money side of things. But I do like just the 1.5 here. I don't really like fading the Dodgers here, but with the inconsistencies of their offense, of one, and then two, we look at how Landon Knack, obviously, last time he played this Washington Nationals lineup, he was great, but on the road, I think this is going to be a rough spot for him. So I'm just backing the Nats on the plus 1.5 here, minus 112 on DraftKings, and then we're going to the game you were just talking about, Ari, with the Yankees and A's, and I'm taking the Yankees first 5 team total over 2.5. That's minus 125 right now. And I love this play, just targeting the Yankees through the first 5 because of who they're facing, and that is Joe Boyle. Joe Boyle is one of the most inconsistent pitchers for the A's this year. He'll allow 7 runs. He'll go 7 innings shutout. We don't know which one we're going to get, but on the road. But when you look at who he has dominated, their weaker lineups, teams like the Twins, and not as strong lineups compared as the Yankees, who obviously have power hitters. And the one kind of struggle for Joe Boyle is his control. And obviously, when he has, when he faces a lineup where we know he's gonna walk at least 2 guys in that lineup, Juan Soto and Aaron Judge, that's gonna set up base runners early. And so I'm just taking the Yankees to score 3 runs to the first 5. I think their offense shows up as well. Once again, it's a little bit risky because, you're asking a team to kind of have their offense show up once again, especially after, obviously, we just talked about how they showed up in the first inning yesterday. I kind of need that again, obviously, with this look here. Obviously, just backing them, not really backing the Yankees first 5 in terms of the money line or the run line. I don't really like that matchup for Clark Schmidt, even though he is at home and he is facing a weaker A's lineup. I really just like the Yankees and targeting their team total here the first 5 over 2.5. I expect them to kind of hit the ball and at least drive in 3 runs through that first 5 against a weaker A's pitcher today in Joe Boyle, who has had a lot of inconsistencies and does not have control. And I know I've seen Juan Soto. I think his walk line is at 1.5, which I've never seen before. So with significant juice on the over on the over 1.5 on the line. So that's basically saying that Joe Boyle is probably going to struggle with his control. I saw his walks, I think, at around over 3.5 right now. So I think the Yankees kind of driving those runs because of all those base runners that Joe Boyle is going to give up. So I'm targeting the Yankees for the first 5 today. My first 5 team total over 2.5 runs, and then the Nationals as well. I'm targeting them plus 1.5 on the run line. I think they make that a closer game than what people think, just because obviously, the matchups in terms of who's on the mound with Landon Knack for the Dodgers. Obviously, as I just said, if we had this matchup about a week ago, maybe about a little over a week ago, and, both of these pitchers shoved, but I expect both teams to have their bats here, but I expect the Nationals obviously make things a little interesting in this game, and to cover that plus 1.5 run line. Sprinkling the money line, maybe. I'm still debating on that one, but I'm targeting the 1.5 run line there at minus 1, plus 1.5 run line at minus 112. Ari, those are my 2 plays today. What have you cooked up on this Wednesday?
Yeah, 2 for me as well. We'll start off with the first place in the AL West, the Mariners.
Hey, do you want to say that one more time for the people in the back, please?
First place, Seattle Mariners, and the other play is fading the team in the basement of the AL West. But we'll start off with the first place team, Mariners, Rangers, mostly backing Bryce Miller here, him and Gilbert, who pitched yesterday, have been probably the most consistent pitchers so far this season for the Mariners from the start of the season to now. Miller's ERA is just over 1, facing John Gray, Mariners offense recently has been finding some, still hasn't been great, but it's at least been a little bit better than it was the first couple weeks of the season. And the pitching has just been completely lights out the past like 10 to 14 games or so. So yeah, really just backing. I mean, really both of these players are backing and fading pitchers. Backing Bryce Miller here for the Mariners, and then we're fading Spencer Argetti for the Astros, who gave up 7 runs against the Royals in his first career start. This line's really weird because it's Argetti against Jameson Taillon, and the line's only 7.5. So I don't know if it's like the wind's blowing in at Wrigley. I guess I'm because you think Taillon against the Astros, and then Argetti second career start after got crushed in his first career start. Like you think it'd be like 9.5, something like that. So I was thinking of the over, but it's with how weird it is. I'm just backing the Cubs at home in Wrigley. I think Taillon will get hit up a little bit probably, but just looking for the Cubs to just do a little bit more, at home. So yeah, pretty much just those two plays: Mariners money line at Texas, and then Cubs at home against the Astros.
I mean, I was literally about to get into why that line is so low, and it is because the wind is blowing in at Wrigley tonight. So I saw that line at like 8.5, but then it dropped to 7.5. So I'm thinking, yeah, this game is going to go under. But I do love fading the Houston Astros. That is my favorite system, of course, personally. But obviously, you mentioned the last place team. They bring out Spencer Spaghetti, Arrighetti. Not the greatest pitcher. Obviously, you mentioned he struggled against the Royals, and obviously with the weird line because of the fact that obviously it's at 7.5 with pretty much even juice. Just taking the Cubs at home. Obviously, go Cubs, go at home against the Astros in this rubber match in that final game of that series. Then you mentioned Bryce Miller and the Seattle Mariners today. Bryce Miller, one of the surprise, I would say, in terms of more consistent pitchers. Obviously, last year was emerging on the scene, had a little bit of some inconsistencies, but for the most part, was still, kind of dialed in. But now he's taken his game to a whole new level, I think. And, we've seen it with his 1 ERA and very consistent stats. And, the Mariners obviously faced John Gray today. And, they hit the ball pretty well against John Gray in the past. They've hit the ball pretty well against him, whether it is at Texas or at home in Seattle. And, obviously you mentioned guys like Julio Rodriguez, Cal Raleigh, and the rest of the Mariners team are starting to hit the ball well as well. So I feel like the Mariners at plus money is definitely a great look to potentially, take this series in Texas as they get ready to go back home for another big series. So I do like the Mariners potentially at this even money slot at plus 102. And then the Cubs, obviously, you mentioned you fading the Astros. Spencer Arrighetti, not the greatest pitcher. I think I do like his over 2.5 earned runs prop. If you guys like a player prop out there, I do think the Cubs rally in 3 runs against him. And, just taking the Cubs straight up on the money line, I think that's a great system for you as well. So Ari's 2 plays, our Mariners and Cubs straight up on the money line, separate plays. And then for me, just Nats on plus 1.5, and then the Yankees first 5 team total over 2.5. You can find all of these plays on our Twitter below, AKP Sports Talk. But that's going to do it for this episode of AKP Sports Talk. That's Ari. I'm Korea, as we said. Tomorrow, obviously, the first round of the NFL draft commences tomorrow. So we're going to be giving out some of our final picks. Obviously, we know the Lions have been moving. We saw J.J. McCarthy go from 800 to plus 1,600 to 400, all that movement at the 2. We've seen Jaden Daniels now minus 400 at the 2. So we're going to do a complete breakdown of all that fun stuff tomorrow as the first round commences, as we get through the latter rounds, Friday and Saturday as we get into the weekend. But that's going to do it for this episode. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. That's Ari. I'm Korea. We will see you guys tomorrow.